Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's Alicia Brasher here at Cosmic Gateway, and I am so incredibly blessed and fortunate to have my guest here. I am joined by Miesha Johnston. I'll give you a little bit of an intro. So she's a certified hypnotherapist specializing in ET Experiencer Regressions, past life regressions, and trauma recovery hypnosis. She offers Galactic Multi-Dimensional Sessions. She is a trance channeler who speaks, my favorite, speaks so many galactic languages. She offers Galactic Light Language classes, and she facilitates virtual experiencer groups 3 times a week on Zoom in her home once a month. And obviously, we're going to go into a little bit of backstory and with ET and MILAB and MK Ultra, and there's so many fascinating facets to you and your journey. So, Miesha, welcome, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Alicia. It was wonderful to meet you.
So I thought just for my own benefit, but obviously for people who are watching, if we could start off with just a little bit of your background so people can get to know you and learn a little bit about who you are, and so we can get into the wonderful work that you do that has just really inspired me greatly.
Oh, thank you. I do best with pictures better than verbal. In 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 my life, I do spend a lot of time speaking with galactics, and so speaking with the human race is more difficult for me than you can possibly imagine. So pictures, we ETs speak in pictures, so I'm going to speak in pictures
I
today.
love that. That's
Okay.
wonderful.
So let me just open this up. Whoops, again. So I lost you.
Oh, that's all right.
Ah, technology. Technology. Just when I thought I had it figured out, it stopped me. Um, all right. So first of all, we need to share the screen. That might be a little helpful if I did. All right, share the screen. Um,
There we go.
and there we go. So just to give you a little background about myself, you've already mentioned that, and that I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and I very much specialize in the trauma release hypnosis. That is my specialty because I work with people who are MK Ultra, super soldier, secret space program, ritual abuse, targeted individuals, and within all of these experiences, you have that aspect of the programming, mind control programming, and so you have alters. And so I specialize in helping people connect with those alters that are deep within their subconscious and have been programmed it by factions of the government, CIA, and other alphabet places and such. So the alters are really an important part in people's experiences because the alters speak the truths and the stories that that your front altar really doesn't remember.
Doesn't, yeah.
I of course started as in my childhood memories with trauma-based mind control and with extraterrestrials basically at the same time. I do remember that now I'm learning that my trauma-based mind control might have started earlier, but at 3 years old, my first contact was with the Bee Gees, the Bears. And as a child, I heard them night after night with their little squeaky voices speaking. And then one particular night, I followed the sound and I found them right underneath the staircase. And they were very pleasant and smiling, and again communicated with me. They do communicate in pictures, so they communicated in pictures very much.
Mhm.
And then they were with me for maybe up until my fifth year, maybe 4 or 5 years old. They weren't really with me that long. It seemed like off and on for a year or two. And then another group came in. But when I was adult and I watched Star Wars, I realized that indeed they were the
Oh,
Ewoks.
my goodness. I
I have a question about that.
I
I'd love
do
to answer.
I do have a question, because when I first saw you speak about this, it triggered something, because when I was around the age of 3 or 4, I became obsessed with the Ewok cartoons, and
Oh.
it sort of came back, and I was like, where did that come from? And so can you tell me if you know any more about these beings? I mean, I'm super fascinated about them.
Well, actually, I do. The Ewoks, or oh gosh, now I can't think of his name. But at any rate, the Ewoks were a group that actually worked with factions of the government. And this right here is a picture. They're very ancient. They live for a lot longer than we do. And
Mhm.
this is a picture of a, more than likely it looks old German, something like that. And this is the ET Ewok, and this is the actual picture of them. And you can see
Wow.
that Disney, and not wasn't Disney, it was well, anyway, Star Wars. Whoever did Star Wars got the picture pretty good, got
Mm.
it correctly. But my whistleblower tells me that the actual one that they took this whole thing after was a guest at the Area 51 and has been a guest in other places. Now, I believe all over the world, there's other ones that have been guests as well. So because of my ET experience, I mean, because of my MILAB and my MK Ultra experience, it may have had something to do with why I had my first contact being Bee Gees. Um, was it straight from the government? I'm not sure. It could have been from because I wasn't living in Vegas at the time, so it couldn't have been Area 51 because I was in Idaho. So I'm not sure. But the Bee Gees, a lot of people have seen them and have had that, and they all say the same thing. They're fuzzy little fun little guys with little sweet personalities, and they take us flying over, like I remember flying over the roofs of the houses. I don't remember a ship, though. That's another interesting thing. I don't remember a ship, but I do remember being, are they elementals? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe
Uh,
they're elementals.
are they from like a different dimension? I mean, yeah, that was what came to my mind. Are they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could be, because to me they look a little bit more like a elemental than they do an ET.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So then I started having, after they left, it seemed like it was like one at a time. I would have more on board the ship. I would have different ones and see ones, but as they came and got me in, let's call it experiences or slash abductions, and only abductions because the physical body was taken. However, sometimes your astral body is taken too, especially maybe in the last 30 years. A lot more astral is taken, and I think due to several reasons. Some of them being the treaties that our government has made
Mhm.
with the different ETs so that they are not allowed to come anymore.
Right.
Um, and so it's astral, it could be that. Also, even the ETs that are in the treaties and such, well, there is a treaty in place that they're not really allowed to be any of the ships aren't allowed to be any closer than like 10 miles. I could be off on that
Mhm.
amount, that length of, but it's, something like 10 miles. They can't be. And if they are seen, then they can be, they can scramble the jets, and if they feel that there is any threat, they can shoot them out of the sky. Well, they have been for some time, been shooting them out of the sky. That's why
Oh.
so much of it is back engineered technology that is in Area 51. Many of the others, Dulce, Los Alamos, um, even overseas, and other bases too. I know that there's a space in England that was very much with this kind of stuff. And I can't think of what it is, but it's famous, and but I can't think of the name. So indeed, they are. Have been visiting all different types. So this particular one was with me, started as a tall, willowy one. He was a bit taller than the little short grays that I had experience with. And I don't think I have a picture of that. No, I don't have a picture of it. I have another drawing of, they looked to me like they were deers. So I'd have these 3 deers come to my window and it was time for me to go. I knew
Wow.
the deer were there. It says, now it's time for me to go. I get up and that was the last thing I remember. And then next thing I remember, I'm on board a ship. Sometimes along with this willowy one, I had and teachers and instructors, and that's where I learned how to do the galactic language and the channeling information. Started when I was very young, and these classes continued on. And this is a very interesting thing that happened for many, many, many people. I mean, probably the majority of kids do have classes, and the reason being, in my opinion, this is all my humble opinion. The
Yeah.
reason being is that um, there's agreements made with the different groups because of our connection to them genetically. So they are our galactic family.
Yeah.
So they say, as knowing their galactic, us being their galactic children, or the generation of hybrids or whatever, they want us to remember who we are and our mission. So
Mm-hmm.
they will teach us as in childhood.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very positive experience, always positive throughout and I can't think of a negative one. The only one that could have been considered scary for me was a experience with one time when I was um, went to bed. The next thing I know, I'm standing, and now this is when I was 16. When I was standing out in the desert, and there was a big ship above me with kind of lights rotating, and I could only look with my eyes. I could not, and this way and that way, but I couldn't move my head because it's paralysis, which is a very normal thing for people to have. It's some ability that they have to freeze you, to put paralysis on you.
Can I just
Yes.
ask you there, because that's something that I've experienced many, many times, and I know a lot of the people that I connect with and clients have that. Do you have any more insight into what sort of technology it is that does that paralysis?
Uh, to be
No.
honest, no. I actually don't. I mean, I can tell you why they do it, because I
Yeah.
asked.
Yeah, I'd love to know.
Okay, they said because they do not want to be harmed and they do not want to harm you. So they said, and then they did this by showing me imagery of people getting crazy and fighting them, especially men.
Yeah.
And then also in my experiencer group, I had a man talk about how he was paralyzed, and he kept talking to himself to come get out of the paralysis, get out of the paralysis, get out of the paralysis. And the ET was standing right beside him. He reached over, grabbed its arm, and heard a crunch. They disappeared just like that. So they don't want to be hurt and they don't want to hurt us. So that's the reason they do it. They also, well, I mean, you can imagine if you're kicking and frailing and they're trying to take you through a window, how much harm could come to you.
Yeah, I did have one experience where I became conscious in the process, and I
Mm.
fought it because I did feel a lot of fear. And still to this day, I'm not sure whether it was fear because of the shock or if it was because it wasn't, it didn't feel like my galactic family. And I think that's what threw me, because I was aware of a different energy. Um, yeah, it's
Mm,
fascinating stuff.
mm.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. I love it when people share their own with me. That's great. That's great. So, and that's the best way to understand that some of them maybe do the paralysis because they don't want to be hurt, and maybe they're more on the aim. How would I put it? The benign kind of race, not really not negative, not positive, just curious.
Yeah, that's exactly what my intuition said, was they weren't going to do harm to me. They were curious, and maybe they shouldn't have been meddling, but it was not a harmful thing. Yeah.
Well, a vortex opens up in our homes when we're having this contact. And so we have we are really spiritual beings having this human life. So we are really light beings. And I believe that we attract a lot of different
Mm,
species. I hate to use that word, a
mm,
lot of different races
yeah.
that are just curious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, in fact, maybe the Bee Gees might have been that because I never had any overall learning from them. I
Mm,
don't ever remember that anything other than just enjoyment, but I do know why. Because at 3 years old was when they first started the mind control and the ritual abuse and trauma-based mind control. So
mm,
I believe that they came in to show me you're okay, you're
mm,
loved, even though it doesn't feel like it. So the willowy one again was with me all the way through my hybrid program as well. And so I was telling you about the ship, and so I was standing there and seeing the ship, and I felt something big behind me. Just felt the energy of something big, and that was all I remembered. The next thing I remembered, I'm in a ship, and this is the first time I'm 16. This is the first time I'm feeling that I'm having gynecological examination done by these little gray guys. And then my willowy one, I don't see in sight, and I'm starting to get panicked. And I started to get very scared and panicked. And the willowy one leaned over, and so he was at the foot of my head, and he leaned over and he said telepathically, "This do not be afraid. We're not going to harm you. This is necessary for the hybrid program." So that was my first gynecological. Also, that was my first experience meeting a reptilian. So um, when I see the willowy one and I see the little short grays who more like are android clone type, sometimes they feel like clones, sometimes they feel robotic.
mm,
And but I see and this ship, by the way, is much bigger than it looks inside. And right around me, there's a very bright light, but I can't see really much else. But I do see three figures, and they're much taller. They're actually taller than the willowy one, and they're in hoods. And immediately when I looked at them, I felt this recollection. I had a familiar feeling of one of them, and I said, "I know you," and telepathically, I might have said it verbally, I'm not sure, but I said, I know you," and then all of a sudden, the one stepped forward, dropped his hood, and he was this fellow right here. So, and I immediately recognized him, but also was frightened to death, and I passed out.
yeah.
So So he continued on in my life, and I found out that he was actually sent to protect me. And the reason he was sent to protect me was not only my experiences with my in my life, but also my MILAB experiences that came on later in my life. But just to kind of give you a little bit of a background, along with having the ET experiences, and again at 3 years old, I had my father started with the mind control programming, and the reason he did that is because he was programmed by his mother and a couple of his stepfathers, I believe, and he was programmed and tortured and things like that. At so
Is that something that's common in the in the family line with MK Ultra? Is it generally like the father and then the children, and it runs through
Mhm.
multiple generations?
Yeah, so Rosicrucians and Masons are very similar. Masons are a spin-off from Rosicrucians. Masons have their own, but many of them become magicians, and my father was trained to become a magician, not only a magician, but a black magician. So
Right.
as alchemists, they could conjure things and such as that. So my father was a part of that. So um, just to kind of go over these things really quick because
Sure.
they'll later. That was also I would visit my grandmother, who was that was the cover story for a much of my mind control and trauma-based mind control. It was done at the Blackfoot Asylum, which interestingly enough, the Blackfoot Asylum was when it was modeled, they found over 1,000 unmarked graves. So something horrific went on there at that place, just like a lot of other asylums, you know.
Yeah.
So this was my father. He was mind control himself. And he mind controlled both my two of my siblings and maybe even all of my siblings, I don't know, but he continued this mind control program that was on him because he was mind control, and he had alters, he had split alters, and in fact um, I always remembered him as this kind of hysterical crazy man. And in fact, when we all talk about it, you know, there was a loving side to him, which I'm sure was the front person, but all the other altars that he had were quite scary, actually.
Okay.
And he was the one that started my trauma-based mind control. His brother also was programmed as well, and actually it's one of his half brothers from another father, and he ended up being a cult leader from 49 to 58 in the CIA. It's a CIA mind control program that they were running to see if some people could be led by cult leaders. They could be led to give away their freedoms, to
Yeah.
give away their belongings, and indeed that's what he did. And since then you've got several of these that they've had, and they all reek of being mind control. And in fact he was assassinated in 1958 by what they determined was a CIA or somebody in a very looking CIA suit, black suit with a black briefcase. So anyway, I'm going to kind of jump over this a bit because part of the programming that was brought onto me and to my father was because of what they later ended up having me do, which was part of the beta program. Okay, so my father, as I said, was a black magician. He was a Great London's Ghost Show. He was Dr. Rigo. She was a Tina, his assistant, my sister. Um, there was a lot of programming went there, and in fact, this is my brother here and my other sister, and the three of them were taken on the road every summer, and sometimes even in between on school years and stuff. And the kids just really wanted to go to school, and they wanted to have a normal life. So the two older ones ran away. Him at 14, her at 16. Ran away from home, never to be seen for about 20 years. And then they finally came back after my father's mind control kind of subsided. After he got a brain tumor, he seemed to have changed after that. Let me just get a drink. Within that time, within that time, 5 of my siblings had been, what my opinion was, murdered. So I was from a family of 10, and my father on his deathbed told me that they, in fact, I should say here that they mostly were very young children when they died. And on his deathbed, with the brain tumor and such, he told me that I'm so sorry. He was in coma. He woke up and he said, I'm so sorry. I did what I did to you, and I gave you to them, but I had to because your mother couldn't handle losing any more children. So I know that they had forced my father to go into this. So then, of course, you have trauma-based torture that goes on, programming with hypnosis, drugs, psychosurgery, um, more and more, more and more sophisticated drugs were used: LSD, ketamine, mescaline, psilocybin, scopolamine. Um, Adrenochrome is also some of the things that they started experimenting on with the children of my generation.
So that goes back quite a way then. I mean, I know that adrenochrome has been such a prevalent topic this year and coming out to, but it's even some of the deep truthers that's sort of new to them, but that goes way back then.
Yeah, let me actually give you an example of where it started in my experience, where I feel like it came from. During one of my abductions, I had a lot of satanic ritual abuse and abduction. And one particular time I was there in a ritual experience, and I was part of a ceremony where there was children children killing children, sacrificing children. And I was standing back. Boy, am I having issues here. Excuse me. Um, I was standing back at the time, and I was seeing these draconians, these reptilian draconians.
Mhm.
Unlike my reptilian is from Sirius. These draconians are from basically here on Earth.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so they were standing at the end of the altar. The children would be sacrificed, and I saw them sucking up the loosh. And I believe that that is how they started or I should say the cabal started
Yeah.
understanding adrenochrome
Yeah.
was something that they could use too.
Like the physical equivalent, if you
Right.
will.
They couldn't suck it up like the
Yeah.
draconians. So I'm sure the draconians showed them how they could get it from physically,
That makes sense.
from
Yeah.
blood and such. So, um, yeah, so this continued on throughout my entire life. And during the time in the asylum, there was different kinds of desensitization, isolation, locked in rooms, tortured, electric shock, and things like that. So that now your psyche starts splitting, so that they now have these alters that they can program to do whatever their bidding is. And that's what they started doing, along with these alters that are produced out of this trauma-based mind control. No one can remember or know who their alters are unless they are, have work and do hypnosis and things like that. Then you can get those alters out and integrate them, but it takes a lot of work to get them
Yeah.
released. So
I'd love to. I mean, I'll let you keep going, but I'd love to know what that process is like.
which process?
To be able to integrate the
Well, I started doing mine back in about 1974, 75, and I started going to therapists. Now, these therapists didn't know what in the world I was talking about in most cases, but I did find one therapist finally that was wonderful, and she helped me go through a lot of regression work and helped me get to the acceptance that my father would actually do what he did to me. And again, I have to say, he did it. I don't know if I said this, but he told me that I have to do this to you because greater pain you will go through in your life, and you have to learn how to leave. So that's part of that altar being born, and you have to learn how to leave. So there you have your different systematic programming that happens to make DID, dissociated identity disorder. And So I find that hypnosis is also one of the tools they used to cause the alters and to program the alters. So therefore, um, not drugs, because we stay completely away from any kind of drugs, but indeed hypnosis is a way to start healing. So when you can
Right.
start bringing out the memories and clear them and release them, and then when you can start bringing out the altars and face them, then you start, your healing starts taking place
Right.
tremendously. But at first, when you first start the altars and start remembering, like if someone's working with a therapist, hypnotherapist, and they start getting the altars, they're going to go through a really hard time of hating themselves, of of guilt beyond imaginable guilt because of the things that were forced them, that their altars were forced to do and programmed to do. So it's going to take a healing. So you have to give yourself a lot of time to heal, and you have to forgive yourself and love yourself. So that, it's a short part
Short,
of
yeah, yeah.
the short. So, so many of the altars are programmed to be couriers, which is the very first thing they teach them. They also teach them to be what we call the alpha programming, which is a programming that they know all. They have a photogenic memory, let's say it. They
Mhm.
know everything that every altar is doing because photogenic, they can remember it. Now that's going to be one of the altars has the photogenic memory and can remember what the other altars are doing. Some altars only remember what their life is, and other altars um, can know who you are in the front, but they don't know anybody else. It's very strange. It depends on how they've programmed. And the CIA are really perfect at programming. And let me see where it started from. And you probably already know this. Your listeners know this, but just in case,
Yeah.
uh, the uh, the the Nazis had been doing this with the Jews in the concentration camps. So when the paperclip scientists came over here, they started teaching that to all of the people here and programming them, or well, in some cases, absolutely programming them. So mind control goes all the way up the ladder of these people. So um, if they get them from young, they can program them perfectly to do whatever they want, unless they become free,
Yeah.
like I did.
Right.
So along with that, so you've got the alpha program, you have the beta program, which is the sex slaves. Sex slaves are taught how um, uh, to um, uh, work in the pedophile and the industry of the videos, things like that, the snuff films, torture, and things like that. Also, they're taught to all of the perfect techniques to please their masters.
Yeah.
So that's and then they're used as couriers as well, and they're also used as the photogenic memories to get information from people and stuff, and dignitaries and scientists and politicians and all of that. So the Monarch programming is what I went through at age 17. So um, as I mentioned, alpha, beta,
Okay.
delta. So delta works more with the MK Ultra part, because the MK Ultra part is more the harm and killing kind of thing. So some monarchs are programmed in the delta program, but more than that, it's usually the delta program is usually the Manchurian candidates, the super soldiers, things like that are more
Mhm.
of the Delta program. The Theta is a psychic killer program that could be both male and female, and they're able to cause aneurysms from a distance telepathically. The Gamma program.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that. It's Yeah, sorry, keep going.
You're fine, absolutely. And the remote viewing program as well. So that's also part of the remote viewing is everyone who has been in these MONARCH programs have usually always been programmed for remote viewing, which I have myself as well.
What just a question. It says they telepathically communicate with mother. What does that mean?
Okay, so that means that there is they do it in partners and teams. So a teammate. So you have one who's out there doing the ongoing killing, psychic killing, but you have also the mother, which is the main group, the control. But you also have that partner. So the partner actually plays a part in telepathically also either in this case the partner tells this delta what they're supposed to do, who they're supposed to do it to, and things like that telepathically. So it's a distant kind of thing. So it's remote viewing. So that partner here that is in the mother area. So let's say in the safe house or in the CIA house, they would be doing the remote viewing out to the delta person or theta person out on the field. So gamma is a deception program that is put into everybody so that when a therapist is trying to talk to them and learn about them, if you don't get into the theta state, which is your hypnosis state, you are not going to find out the truth about it. And for a long time, in fact, my first 10 years, I was in gamma and I never really told them much anything. I remembered things about my father and I remembered little flashes and I remembered experiences and ritual abuse, but I didn't know exactly what that program was. And then of course Omega is a program they put into all MK Ultras and a lot of and all monarchs and a lot of other groups. So like for instance, if you ever heard of people who shoot up a school or something like that, they would be your sleepers who have then been programmed to kill themselves.
Yeah.
So these are some of the programs: Bluebird, Artichoke, driving program. I was specifically put in a driving program, which is first they do electroconvulsive shock treatment with LSD sedation for extended periods of time, causing amnesia, making subjects blank machines to be reprogrammed by using helmets-mounted headphones. Also used by the notorious Canadian asylum psychiatrist Dr. Cameron. The principle is aimed at those of these or associated programs was the development of a reliable programmable assassin. And the secondary aims would be development of the method of a citizen mind control, which they are now doing in psychotronic warfare. So what they did to us back in the the 50s, 60s, 70s, they are now doing psychotronically to people. So you hear about the targeted individuals. That is what's going on right now with those people. So they're having the same kinds of things, but instead of having the people to have to take them, kidnap them, put them in places, pay for all that expense, program them, train them, and all that expense. Now all they have to do is flip a switch with AI, and they can program these people to do everything that I did. The beta program, the Delta, all of those programs. So.
Wow.
And so for me, just to really quickly tell you, so my first experience was January, no, was it? I guess I was 69. Yes, January 68. Yeah, okay. So January 68, I was at college. I was checking out college. It was, January, so school hadn't started. And I was checking out the college. I was there in the cafeteria. A man walked up and said, say, does anybody want to make some money? We have a sleep study, a dream study. So we just put you to sleep and we watch you dream, and our equipment picks up all of these kinds of uh, uh, information from it. So, and you get well, tons of money. It was several $100s. I can't tell you how many it was, but to me, it was probably as much as $1,000 now would be. So it was a lot to a teenager. And so I went to the uh, building just off the campus. There was a brick building. I walked in. They had lab coats. They set me up in a bed with a lot of other people were there too. And that was the last thing I remembered for 8 months. And the next thing I remembered, I was in Seattle, Washington, looking at a bus ticket and seeing somebody else's name as the last name and my name as the first name and trying to figure it out. So anyway, long story short, I got home on the bus. I called my family. My family came to pick me up. My mother and father. And my mother said, "For the love of God, where have you been? You've been missing for 8 months, ever since you got married and Charlie took you off." And I said, "I got married?" "Yes, you got married. We went to the wedding and your father wouldn't even walk you down the aisle. And all you said to him was, 'I don't care. I'll have my friends walk me down the aisle. They're the ones that gave me the dress.' And they said, 'We didn't want you to get married because we felt that you were under some kind of mind control, or not mind control. We felt that you were under some kind of drugs or something like that.' So anyway, they ended up I ended up having a reception. My parents told me that in January, like the first part of January, because it was like the January 6th or something that I was at the college. And then around the 10th, they said, I contacted them. I called them. I told them, put an announcement in the paper because I'm getting married to a Navy Marine corpsman. Now, a Navy Marine corpsman can give you drugs very simply, very easily and stuff. And that I'll let you know about when the wedding is. And then they get a announcement in the mail just a week later, for me to be married on I think it's February the 5th, I think it is, February 5th. So from January 6th to February 5th. So what they did is they put me in the driving program. So you're to sleep for weeks, months. They can program you and do whatever they want to program you and stuff. So that happened, and I ended up having memories and stuff that came out back during the trip home, where I remembered having ritual ceremonies and being in big houses and having big parties with government. uh, Bob Hope. Aha, got the name out. Sometimes they block me for that. And Bing, yes, as well. And other dignitaries and um, uh, generals and colonels and all kinds of people. So those were at the big parties, which ended up later at the rituals. So then it happened to me again the next year.
Oh my goodness.
Happened to me again. I got a phone call. It sounded like a fax machine, and that was the last thing I remembered. What I did find out that they said, "He will meet you at Bob's Big Boy. Be there, packed and ready to go." And so they took me once again, and this time they took me to first to New York. I was told that I found out since that I was at MIT, being studied and such. And then they took me to San Francisco, where I was part of the Bohemian Grove beta slaves. So then I skip back a little bit more to my life now, and in 82, I mean in 1980s, I live in Ogden, Utah, and so I go back to Utah after my brother finds me in San Francisco and gets me out of there, which was 8 months later again. Oh, and by the way, I don't know if both of them, but one of the missing periods of time, I had a baby that I never saw again. So all I remember is a experience where I was being shown by this man how to nurse my baby. and we were in this shack of a building, and there was about 5 or 6 other girls in there with me, and so we were all being given our babies to nurse. So, but
Oh
I
my
don't know
goodness. Oh
child.
my goodness.
Okay, so then the MILAB experience started happening, and these groups that I had seen basically in the rituals were now also in the MILAB. So understand that the MILAB experience of the military reabduction or military um, um, production or military laboratory, there we go, military laboratory abductions. So they do all kinds of things, everything from test us to want to know what we know about the ETs, where the ETs are, what their ships like, how their ships are, the propulsion works. So there's that aspect, and then lower down on the levels, then you get into the draconians, which are these guys here. And so sometimes I was taken out of my house by reptilians, sometimes by grays, and sometimes men in uniforms. Um, so then is when I started praying and asking my galactic family for help and protection. And that's when they sent me back, the one that I had seen in the ship when I was 16. He came back into my life as my protector. They'll also, this being, which is Iargan, came into my house and was protecting my children. So my children would wake up because they also were experiencers, and they and so the MILAB experiences were happening to them too. So they would wake up with these Iargans standing at the foot of their bed, and then they'd go back to sleep because they knew that they were there to protect them. The same thing with Ayana. So Ayana first showed up because I don't like reptiles of any shape or kind, because of my experiences starting at very young with 17, 18 with. And so I ended up, he showed me himself as an energy form for a long time. And then one night, uh, I asked him, "You're not that energy form. I want to know who you really are." Plus, he also showed me him as a blonde man too. And I said, "I want to know what you really look like." And so he did show me what he looked like. I knew he had been there protecting me, had an unconditionally loving energy, and so I wasn't frightened of him from then on. And I had physical experiences, not physically as in body physically, but physical experiences where he would come and take me on board the ship and things like that. So long story short, it's many other things. So the hybrid program is part of a program. There's many hybrid programs. There's a hybrid program for within the Zeta Reticuli. So the Zeta Reticuli are very amazing geneticists. You've got the Mantists, who are also geneticists.
I've had a lot of contact with both of those, yeah.
Those, yes, they are. They're the geneticist group. And then, of course, you also have the Pleiadians, who are also genetics, as well as the Lyrans, who are the lion beings, who are genetic. So there's many different hybrid programs. So you might, as this picture shows, be shown hybrid children that have aspects of all these different kinds of animals. My first one was this one that was just put in my hands, and when I saw that hybrid child, I immediately bonded with it, and the ETs in front of me telepathically showed me how they were very happy that this was a success, because other times they showed me imagery about other people being frightened and scared off or dropped the babies, and so they were very happy it was a success, which from that point on gave them the indication that I would be a good hybrid parent, that I would bond with these children no matter what they look like. And indeed, they started showing me some very strange children. Had wonderful presentations with different types of babies. So I had presentations with little reptilian hybrids. And when I asked who the father was, they said, "Well, you call him Ayano." The genetics take in, you call him the Ayano and the all. So that meant not, because I don't have ever any physical relationship with him that I can remember, but the genetics were used as well. So there's many different hybrid races and such, and this is kind of a appearance. This is not my drawing, but that's a lot like what my little girl looked like right here.
Oh,
And then I had another child that came to me later that looked very, very much more reptilian than even this one looked
mm.
like. So, so there is that. Any questions?
I have so many.
All right.
um,
So then we have the military hybrid program, which of course you can see here,
wow.
doing genetics with animals and children.
Mm,
Excuse
hmm.
me, humans and animals, and producing children that are a hybrid of animals and people, as well as the remote viewing for children, as well as the Montauk chair
Yeah.
uh, children, and also the AI and transhumanism within this little guy here. So what are your questions?
I guess of- I have my own thoughts and things like that, and hybrids is something that I've sort of deeply explored just to understand my own journey better. I'm not a hybrid parent myself, but um, what's your? I would like to know your take on, the bigger picture as to the hybrid programs and what that means for the future of the planet and the period that we're going through on this ascension process.
Hmm.
I mean, is there intention to integrate these hybrids or some of these hybrids into society in the future? Are they already here? I mean, I know some of the answers to these questions, but I'd love to hear your take on that.
Okay, so starting from the beginning, first of all, the for instance, the Zeta Reticuli are from our future, are from a future like us, shall we say. It may not necessarily be our Earth future because they are off planet, but they don't want have to, they what happened to them where they whole bodies changed because they were very human looking. Their whole bodies changed. They ended up having these huge heads because they went and lived underground. They had big eyes because they had to adjust and evolve into the types of grays that they are, which they're a smaller species
Mhm.
with very large heads, and they had to start cloning because the women could not uh, give birth
Give
anymore.
birth, yeah, yeah.
Heads were so big, right? So don't want that to happen to us. We let technology, AI, start controlling every. I mean, they let technology, AI control everything. They don't, and that's happening to us. So they want to come back to help us. Now
Yeah.
that's races. The other ones I talked to you about are all part of our ancient genetics. So we
Mm.
are, and this planet has been seeded since the beginning of time. Now is the time that the seedlings should be being born on this planet. Now is the time for the consciousness to raise. So when you bring in these beautiful hybrid children that have the most unconditional loving energy, that's not to say that they're little angels, because they're not. They can be very hard to raise. I have a couple of grandkids that are that way, that are hybrids, and they are so intelligent and reason things out so much that when you tell them things that they think, well, I think that it could be this way and I could have it this way. That they are too smart for their britches is what I tell them all the time. So and they're that's the hybrids that are living among us, and they have probably been in for maybe for 20 or maybe more years. So you've got some of them actually maybe even going in places of great importance. So you know that there's like different groups that, I mean, not different groups, but I mean you got your millennials, okay, for
Mm.
instance,
Mhm,
millennials. All
mhm.
right. Many of the millennials are awake and conscious, and they're already in positions and places in their workplace or in that are there to assist and help the world.
Yes.
Others are not woke up yet,
Yeah.
but Yeah. So, and some of them are being programmed as fast as the mind control school college can do that they can possibly, that's going on very much. So, so there is a hybrid program, and that is so important that genetics are coming back onto this planet from many different groups to make us realize that we are all one. You would not be having a hybrid child that looks like a half lion, half human, or half reptilian, or half human, if they weren't part of you. So it's our genetics that are so important to.
I think that's a beautiful way to put it. I've never heard anyone say it quite like that, because I know that this is a topic that can be a bit way out there for some people, and and triggering for other people. And I've seen all different facets of reactions, and I think it's really good to bring it back to understanding your own genetics and your galactic connections as to why, so thank you for saying that. Yeah.
You're welcome. It's my truth. It's what I've been understanding. It's what the galactics speak to me all the time and tell me. They share things. Some things like, you are me, I am you. We are one. I've also had visits from like a Pleiadian who is me as another life as a Pleiadian, and
Mm,
people have kinds of things all the time, and they're trying to show us that we are so important to the whole galaxy, that Earth has, yeah, since it is a petri dish and has been since the beginning of time, there is many planets that think of us as their children, and I got chills all over my body.
yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know, and I do know that there are some not as positive hybrid experiences, and
Yeah.
this gives you an example of them, and some of them might even be some of those ones that are just curious. I
Mm,
don't know, but I do believe that there is non-interference, and these so this is the way that they can offer assistance to our planet, but with still retaining the universal law of non-interference.
correct. Yeah. Yeah, I understand
Okay, so I'm just going to go through these pictures. You don't really, that's not really important. I don't think. I just want to get. Oh, okay. So during my lab experience, I had a time where Melinda Leslie and I were working on a book, and we had lots of things happen to us, including I had 3 automobile accidents. She was with me on one of them within like not even a year's time. Ran off the road by an unmarked van. Told many repeated times to shut up, because we were talking about something they weren't ready for back in 1999 is when we were doing this.
that.
So
Wow.
then, and in 2000, all kinds of things were happening. They had already brought me and Melinda in to and abducted them out of my house. In fact, I think I may have. Yeah, there it is. So he abducted out of my condo, and we were, long story short, I can't go into the whole detail, but we were woke up in the middle of the night. She was sleeping on my couch. I was in my bedroom. I was drug out by a guy on each side. They were wearing black uniforms. They had night vision. They had helmets with night vision goggles, and they took us down to a waiting van. um, I'm just going to tell you my experience, and not hers, but she was in the van with me. Next thing I know, I had a few other little wake up points, but the most important part is I wake up and I'm in a room with, that mirror, the famous mirror that is there. So
Mm,
somebody watching me, I know that. So
mm,
I'm in the mirror, and there's a lieutenant colonel, like I'd seen many times. I mean, I'd had many experiences where I was interrogated by lieutenant colonel and above. So lieutenant colonels, and generals. And they, um, all said same kinds of things. They had triggering phrases such as, this is not going to bring you any happiness, you need to go home and find yourself a husband. And so he was like saying these things to me, and he said, and to bring the point home so you understand it this time, I want you to meet somebody. So he left, and this creature came in. He was the largest draconian reptilian I'd ever seen in the underground bases. He was he had some kinds of tufts right back here, so like it was probably atrophied wings, maybe, because I know he was a draconian. And I just finished a 3-hour group just before here, so maybe that's where.
You're amazing. Thank you for your time.
So my voice, I think, is going. And I also had a interview last night too, so pardon me for my voice. So when he came in, he bent down, he looked into my eyes, and I was instantly in this holographic imagery. Weird as this sounds, I was in this big white room. All of a sudden, there were these men in black uniforms with big bayonets, and they were in black uniforms. They were like the closest thing I can tell you is a ninja. And they came down, and there in the room was my son, my other son and his wife, and my granddaughter, who is 3 years old. And they started chopping them up with the bayonet. If you've ever been in a hologram, feels like the real thing. Totally.
Oh my goodness.
So it made me realize that I wanted to get out of this. So I did. In fact, I decided to quit, and I had one more meeting to meet with somebody, and he was a Delta guy, and he wanted to tell me one more experience, because we were taking eyewitness accounts with different people. We were doing tapes and audios, cassettes and stuff like that. So I met him in a restaurant. I was sitting at the bar waiting for him. He came in. He said, my, haven't we been a busy little girl? I said, pardon me? And he says, I said, do I know you? And he says, yes, you know who I am and why I'm here. He said, you have been told over and over and over to stop this book, to stop speaking, because two nights before that, being abducted, I was on Art Bell's show, which was a very popular, it's now called Dreamland, with George Nori, but it was Art Bell's first. So we had been on that show, and then we were kidnapped the next night after that. So he said, you have been told over and over not to be on radio, not speak at conferences, and you're done. I want you to understand that it's over. You need to go back, and he said, my place where I lived. You need to go back home and find yourself a husband and get out of this, because it's not going to bring you any happiness. Again, I heard this at least 3 times, if not more. And I said, and then I said, but the people have a right to know. The people have a right to know what's going on. And he said, the people aren't ready. The people aren't ready for this. They can't handle this. And I said, but they can. And he said, you've been told and warned, and it'd be a shame if anything happened to that cute little granddaughter of yours, which really freaked me out. I said, how did you know I have a granddaughter? He says, we know everything about your 2 sons, where they work, what their routine is, where they live. And it'd be a shame if anything happened to them. And they find people's bones in the desert all the time. So I took that as an absolute threat. So I did get out of it, and I went home just a couple of days after that for Thanksgiving. And on the way there, on the way home, I was run off the road by an unmarked van, and and then I told my family I was quitting. I got back, because I was right off the road, but I was able to hit a cactus, so it was a pretty soft landing. And so then I drove into Vegas and then went back. Oops, now you know, doesn't matter. I went back home to California and dropped off my car to get it repaired. Got a rental. Was driving across town to give Melinda all of the information I had and give away all my books, all my UFO stuff, everything to another guy. And I was hit broadside, spun around. Guy with big guy, definitely military, got out and said, "You caused this. You caused this. You caused this." But somebody saw the eyewitness and said, he was not saying you caused the accident. He was saying you caused yourself to be in an accident. So I quit. I did quit for 9 months, 9 years, and then I back into it. So
Wow.
anyway, so I'm after that event, I decided to quit, as I said, and I asked for help. I said, please, I need help. And I went in front of a council. Now, this is a terrible picture of a council, but I just wanted to depict the different types of ETs and humanoids and things like that. There's one looked like energy, just an energies going like this. Another one looked like electricity over here.
Mm.
One looked like a reptilian, a gray type, and about 3 or 4 humanoid types. Oh, and a lion being. So I said, I'm done. Please let me come home. I'm done. I can't do it anymore. And they said, beloved, do you not remember you asked for this mission and you must complete this mission? So remember, if you have a mission here, if you're here and you're part of the ground crew here and you find that you are doing work as healing, as helping other people, as having radio shows, you are part of ground control and you are part of a mission that you are doing. So I said, but it's so hard. And I'm crying and carrying on. And they said, one moment, and they spoke amongst themselves. And when they did speak, it was very interesting that every single one of them would light up. I telepathically heard them only, but their chairs that they were in or their energy would light up when they talked. So I could see that they were telepathically talking. And they said, what we can do is help you and protect you and help you cancel your contracts. We have sent you a protector, which is Ayano, which was my reptilian, and the others. And they also sent me Octurians, and they said, but what we will do is help you cancel all of your contracts. So I did. I canceled all my contracts. However, you have to be careful with what you cancel, because if you cancel all your contracts, that means you lose all your physical contacts with your contracts with your galactic family. So all I can see them now is hear them, astrally see them in my experiences, and I a couple of times have heard Ayana walk up to on my wooden floor and walk up to my door and stop. But I don't have any more onboard ship experiences. So you have to be
Wow.
careful what you cancel. That's my advice for anybody who wants to cancel. Be specific.
Wow. This is the most fascinating. Thank you for sharing this.
You're
I
welcome.
think, just what you said, I can resonate. And I think so many people can, is like, it's so hard. I want to go home and, asking for the help and support. But canceling contracts is something that I never fathomed that is actually possible. But
Hmm.
I guess that's an air of caution that things are possible, but it will change things.
It will change things. And I work with people in canceling contracts too, but I have them get very specific on what they're canceling
Yeah.
as and I also help people in to release these traumas and such, because until you can release these traumas, forgive yourself, and then you won't integrate, and you'll always be at the result of your altars that are still there. Or if you're an experiencer, if you haven't gone into and found out your experiences, because so many people think their experiences are horrifically horrible, but most of the time when they get into that
Mm.
through a regression, they find out, oh, it was my perception because I felt that anything that was in the dark is and evil and scary, and anything that isn't of earth has got to be wicked and evil. And so once they realize it, they do better.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, and that was part of my experience and how I help support other people. Is it really is? I always said that sometimes the first memories or the first contact is the most traumatic because it's going against. I mean, we have this conditioning, societal conditioning, that to fear the unknown or whatever because of movies, and
Hmm.
often it's our own fear programs. It's not the actual experience itself, and it takes a level of consciousness to get a better grasp on it. So thank you for bringing that up. Yeah.
It does. And fear, I always tell my clients and people in my group that fear is false evidence appearing real. I'm sure a lot of people have heard that, but it really is true.
Mm,
It's just like when I was shown that holographic image, the fear that he put in me was so strong that for 9 years I got out of my mission. Shame on me. I could have done so much more and helped so many more people had I not got out of it. So fear
mm.
is false evidence appearing real.
Thank you for sharing that. And let's get to, because I know I don't want to keep you too long because I know that you've had a really long day, but I would like you to share for people like what you do now, how you can how you assist people in obviously healing, but connecting with understanding their galactic ancestral, family, their lineage, to have a better understanding of who they are and what their mission and purpose is. Because I think that that is probably the most important thing that anyone can go through, especially right now. you know, um, can you
Hmm.
share a little bit about that? Because I know you run support groups and you do sessions and things like that. And of course, I highly recommend and will put all the details in the description box below for people to connect to you in that way. Um,
Well, I guess the okay, that's what they told me. The best way to do this is to do a reading for you right here.
okay.
Okay.
I,
Um, all right. It's the best way. I always felt like, for me, is learning by showing. And so I have a chart that I have my galactics actually told me to put together. So it's all the major races that, not races, but major ET constellations and groups and such as that. Um, oh me, oh my! I didn't plan on doing this, so let me see.
this is this is I didn't expect this either, but I do appreciate it. And I-
My book. It's called Planetary Genealogy Plan. Excuse me, Galactic Genealogy Planetary Origin.
thank
And,
you. I'm glad you shared that. I've already purchased that and some of your cards, but they're on their way. I haven't received them yet, so I'm
oh,
super
great.
excited to receive them.
Oh, I think I remember that. Now, the cards are going to come from a separate place than what I sent out to you already. I've already sent your package out to you, but the cards will come from another publisher. Okay, so these are different types of ETs within
Mhm,
different types of ETs, different Lyrans, Fulmahals, things like that. So, so I will just do a reading, and I do that by dowsing. It's just a tool,
mhm,
and you connect with your higher self. I connect with your higher self, I should say. So you give me permission to find out what your galactic planet of origin is, and I'll do it.
mhm.
Um, all right. So thinking about it, and it's moving around in a circle. Okay. Pleiadian. Okay. Any other important ones? Going around in a circle. Is that Orion? Orion? Anymore? And I should just really quickly just show you what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any more? Andromedan. All right. So, characteristics of a Pleiadian is they have a smooth energy. People like to be around. They're a very loving, kind, and they always sacrifice themselves for other people. Um, if you would ask a Pleiadian whether they want out of life, they would say to be happy. Pleiadians like to be outdoors, but don't need much sun. You? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Pleiadians release through crying. Okay, so this may have to. I mean, it gets so hard for a Pleiadian that they have to release, and even if they will be stoic during, let's say, a fight, or they'll be stoic during something else, but they have to release it at some point or other. And they might release it on a commercial or a movie or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Pleiadians don't feel the same way that most people do about relationships. They don't like they feel trapped, and if they feel trapped, they could leave, and that's how it goes for them. So that is a Pleiadian. Does that fit? It appears the way you're chuckling.
Yeah.
And then the Orion. Orions are very sensitive to balance, and they can feel physically ill or upset when situations are not in balance in their lives at all. And like, for instance, even in their home, in their relationships, they've got to have a balanced connection. They also don't like socializing in large groups. They also have a sense of humor and like to make others laugh. They are also very skeptic and don't take things on face value, but they will be happy to research them and find the answers out. So they're willing to do that. They also can be critical of people around them and themselves because they have a keen eye that others do not, and they see things that others do not.
Mm-hmm.
So Pleiadian, first of all, there is a fourth dimension all the way up to ninth dimension where they don't need a body.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the Orions are some of the newer groups that joined the Galactic Federation. So some of them are a million years. They're more in like 100 years. They haven't been very long. So a lot of people remember their lives sometimes in Orion and aspects of maybe they were in torture chambers, or maybe there was really horrific things happening. There was a wars, Orion wars and such like that. But now maybe some of them are remembering more of the positive experience. But so you have all kinds of different humanoids. You have reptoids and amphibians as well. You've got gray. These are the ones that some of the ones that are seen on the military and the underground bases. Also this type of that looks similar to this. And then you've got the gray and human Essassani as well. And then many other races that, like I said, they're some of the new baby on the block. So they still have a lot of different races that are still assimilating together. And they live in peace and harmony. And that's what they want us to do. That's why they ask me to show people what the galactic planet of origin is and how they can become like them and live that way. Now, in your different times of your life, you have the characteristic, you have the association with these different groups. And so it may happen and go on, like I was telling you with mine. I had this one for a while, this one for a while. So that may happen. Your family comes back and works with you in different aspects in different ways. So then the Andromedans are the ones that look a little less human as well. So Andromedans are also they have non-corporeal bodies. So so I'm just showing this picture. It's similar to it's like the picture I had with Ayano, but it's just to show you that they do. Now the rest of these pictures that are not stock photos are people's experiences of their experience. So you've got a blue-green type, you've got a blue type. There are different Andromedans. So Andromedans, not a lot of as many Andromedans on planet Earth, so I don't know it by heart. So let me just give you some highlights. Andromedans are healers. They go into the healing communities, abilities which are often felt early in childhood. Many Andromedans discover they have much to offer others in their spiritual pathway and become known as teachers and healers. Andromedans must work with issues of self-confidence and love. These areas may be obvious in their need for development, or they may be disguised. When self-love and confidence are developed, the inner freedom and spiritual connectedness will be formed within. So they're also Andromedans are part of the Galactic Federation and have been for millions of years. So they probably the hoarseness, maybe they've been telling me. A lot of times when I get the hoarseness, that's them wanting to come through. So maybe they have a message for you. If you don't mind, I'll go ahead and let them come through. Is that okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Ji takarete tijuata tukora tatatiwa anda takaretile wo kulata tuko relatini wata tukuna naldi wataka tawlinu tulukota nale kwala kunutuna ne kwata kotwala kota nene kula tunani kwalata tui the message. You receive information from us. You receive messages from us. We know that you are aware that you are receiving these. We ask you to understand that we would not be contacting you and would not be communicating with you if it was not that you are ready. You are ready for this and much, much more. So we ask you to go ahead and take the next step of the plan that you have in your heart, in your mind, that you are going to do it now. Do it now. It is the time. Oh.
Thank you. I felt that. I really felt that.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. So, oh boy, yeah, they're very very happy with you, and it's time. Yeah, it's very much time. So, is that something you want to share? What was bringing the message in that they gave you? Do you understand?
Yeah, I do. I do. I think what struck me is that the familiarity to the light language that you just spoke, and I've never heard it in that way, but it was so familiar. So thank you. Thank you.
That's what it is. That's what it is. And so when I do a reading, I bring out more of your family. Then they all have messages and things like that. And I know that we probably ought to move on and stuff, but I want
Thank you.
bored. I want to hear, and I don't want to, I don't usually do this, but they asked me to do this to explain how it goes about,
Yeah.
the readings go about. So, so then, I wrote my books, and if you don't mind, I'll just show an image of them.
Please. Yeah.
Okay. And first of all, we have to share. So I might be in the wrong place. I don't know. Yes, let me just. Oh, this is a whole nother conference. This is all about how the psychotronic is being, people are being attacked by psychotronic. So this is a whole nother part of my PowerPoint that I explain how people, just as I was talking about the different things that they did to me in a physical sense, they were doing to people psychotronically with electric shock weapons and water cannons and waterboarding, which is similar to the water cannons as well. And they're using what they're going to be. In fact, all of this information came off of government sites showing that this is technology that they are doing. And so I'm just gonna pulsated energy weapons, projectile weapons. I could go into that next time I come back and stuff. But
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
so that's a whole nother one. And transhumanism, of course, the AI and artificial intelligence and what that is going meaning and everything like that. So let me just, this is my Oracle cards. This is my unimaginable cards that you're going to be receiving. Did you get the ET or the unimaginable?
I got the ET, but I think I'm going to get both. Yeah.
Unimaginable is if you're an ET experiencer and you haven't had the MILAB or MK Ultra or any of these, then ET Experiencer is perfect deck for you.
Yeah.
If you've had the other and you need to know about your alters or the mind control aspects and things, then this might be the right one for
Right.
you.
That's yeah. That's what I felt when I had a look at them. So.
And these are the ET Experiencer ones. However, this is an old picture. Now my book comes in the box, so it's nice and convenient. And so I have those, so people can see those on my website and purchase them.
Highly recommend them. I just.
And of course, this is the chart everybody saw, and the book. This is my book. This is my covert abduction, military harassment, surveillance, interrogation, and mind control. This is my biography of my life during those times when I was in the MILAB programs, and this just goes into that. So that's my book. And my second book is, and I'm writing a third book. They Weren't Butterflies, a Monarch survivor story that goes into all of the information of my experience and my life as an MK Ultra and survivor and a Monarch survivor. And that's it. Oh, and if you happen to come from wherever you're at and you come to Vegas, please go on Airbnb, or you can go right straight to my website, which is actually changed now. It is called, the website is UFOnightwatch.com instead of words.
UFO Night Watch. I'll put that in the description so people can click on that.
UFO Night Watch, yeah. And so I take people out with night vision goggles. Interesting, because I had night vision goggles used on me in a few cases by actions of the MILAB and militaries. I now use them to help up and see UFOs. So you can see 50,000 times more with the naked eye than you can see, then 50,000 more than you can see with the naked eye. So that's what, and I do the tours because I end up meeting and contacting people who I never would ever meet in a million years, and I help them shift their paradigm and wake up. So that's one of my big missions, is waking up people. Also, I've stopped doing this mission, but I have one last mission that I want to share, and that is, I don't have it here. What do you do? The school mission. I have a school mission that I had been trying for years, but I live in Las Vegas, Nevada. It is totally a mind controlled, very controlled place. So I tried to get a 501c3, different kinds to get this school going. It's going to be a school to teach star children, those crystals, rainbow children, or the other aspects of ADD, ADHD, ODD, autism, high functioning autism and Asperger's. And because these kids, they're, most of us are who are working on our mission are also part of that, that we're wired differently. So every child, everyone's wired differently, and especially with these special children. And so they need to be able to taught a certain way. Some learn by textile, some learn hearing, some learn by sight, and others learn with music, and others learn with art. So each child has an amazing abilities if we can bring those out in them. And so that's what this school is about. And if you have a thought that you can do that where you're at, since I'm getting a bit older and I'm not to do this school, I've given up here, and this is where I live because my grandkids are here. I would say to
Oh,
any, please start this school, because
oh
it
my,
is, especially now. Can you
yeah.
imagine if you had a school now like this? Because they're trying to bring socialism, Marxism into the school. They've already brought it into the colleges, and
Yeah.
it made it through there. Now they're trying to indoctrinate our children from very, very young ages. So I hope that everybody can find a way to get their own school going. There's different
Oh
ways you.
my goodness, Misha. I now know why I had such a strong urge to connect with you. So we'll talk off the recording, but you've just blown my mind because I didn't know this about your mission, and that's what you just conveyed to me was about this mission. It's time. So
Oh, I got chills all over my body. That's wonderful. I'm so glad. I'm so honored to have them come through and give you that message. Well, there's so many different ways that you can pay for a school like this. You can get people to if you can find the building, that's the most important thing. But you can have lecture halls, and you can have workshops, and you can have art galleries, and the children in the school can make their art, and they can sell it, so then they can help with their tuition. You can get publishing and writing books and making money off that, and music and videos, and library books and such as that. And there's just so many handicrafts. Children have these amazing abilities of art, and you've got all these savant children that can play piano, concerto, and things like that. So there's just so many ways, and you can do alternate health practitioners and have subcontractors to help you make that school. So I just would like to say that to anybody, that please do it, because unfortunately I feel like I failed and didn't get to do it here, but I know it'll be done.
it'll be done. And there's many that are on that mission. That I know for sure.
Good. Oh, good. I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
I just want to thank you. I can't even articulate how much connecting with you and doing this recording has meant to me personally. Ooh, I'm in awe of you and your work and your mission and how you help support people, and the strength and the courage that you have in walking the path that you have in this lifetime. I just want to thank you truly from the bottom of my heart. So
You're so welcome. Can I just say one more thing? Because I forgot my biggest mission now is to help people connect with other people. So now people are having these live groups and stuff, which is wonderful. But I've been doing it for 7 years on the internet, and I have, and I would like people to contact me through starseedawakening.org is my website. They can also go to my Facebook, Starseed Awakening. They can go to Starseed Awakening ET Contactee Experiencer Group. They can go to MK Ultra, MILAB, Secret Space Program, Super Soldier, and Target Individual. So, I mean, if you get MK Ultra and MILAB, you'll find my group. And so these are all private groups that you can join. And then from those, I have these Zoom live virtual groups, and have been for 7 years. I used to have like one or two, but that just wasn't enough. So these are all free, of course, too. I have them 3 days a week. So I have, um, let me just go through this as much as I can remember. Okay, so I have ET Experiencer ones. I have Starseed ones for people who are just waking up and becoming
Yeah.
Starseeds. I have hybrid groups for people who are hybrids or they're having hybrid experiences and they're the parents. I have a group for Galactic Light Language. Anybody who's feeling that they have language, they've automatic writing, their art, their music, come to that. I have a MILAB MK Ultra secret space program. I have a PTSD group, which takes in a lot of military people who have had PTSD, and in a lot and many of our wars in the last, say, 50 years, there has been not only CIA, but there has been extraterrestrial connections. So that is very important because a lot of people start remembering that, oh my God, I was off planet in secret space program when I was
Yeah.
in military time. So that comes out. Targeted individual reptilian experience. I have that completely separate because there are good and there are negative reptilians. And so a lot, and there are reptilian hybrids, a lot
Yeah.
of reptilian hybrids on the planet right now. And they're here helping and righting wrongs that maybe their ancestors did or something like that. So I have that group, and I think I've named them all. So there is 3 a week, and I have them every single, for the whole month. So that's really, I don't know. I can't even count anymore. I think it's like 12, 14, or 16 groups or something like that. So please join me at that. And oh, can I tell you about my radio show? I have,
Please.
yes, it's on kcorradio.com. It is a podcast radio show as well, so you can just go and do it on the internet. I've been doing that show for 7 years, I think, 6 years, 7 years, and that is called Starseed Awakening Radio Show. So that's on kcorradio.com.
Wonderful.
I think that's it. So if
Oh,
you want to join my group, or if you're feeling like you need assistance and help, please contact me.
thank you. Thank you. And thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, Miesha, for
Thank you.
being such an inspiration in the work that you do. And I really look forward to the next time that we get the opportunity to go into more of in depth. And until next time, yeah, just massive gratitude and love. And
And to you, and what you're doing too. Thank you so much. All of us are playing a piece of this puzzle that we're putting together. We all have our missions. And I want to tell one little thing. People don't have to have this grand mission. I will tell you that if you can tell 3 people and help them realize their experience, or help them wake up, you have done your mission.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. We all play such a critical piece, no matter how big or small. It's all in very individual. And now is the time more than ever to have the courage to fulfill whatever it is that you're being called to do. So thank you once again.
Your galactics are talking to you. Remember, your galactics are speaking to you. It may sound like ringing in the ear. Ask them to slow it down and speak to you, and talk to them, because they really want to talk to you, because it's very important that people realize they are not alone, especially in
Mm,
times like now. You're not alone. Call on your family.
yeah,
They'll be there.
yeah. Beautiful, beautiful message to wrap up. Thank you once again. Thank you everyone for watching, and until next time, pay attention, listen. You're not alone. All right.